guys, so I recently did a video of Helena from Midsummer's, and I'm going to switch over now to do Helena from All's Well That Ends Well. I personally find Helena really interesting and the play really interesting. It's a lesser performed play because it is quite a tricky one. I think it's usually considered one of the problem plays because it's one of those ones where, spoiler alert, when they get together at the end, people are like, but why? This guy is a douchebag, and why did you even like him in the start? Are you okay? Do you want to get married? It's sort of a bit like Much Ado About Nothing, where you're like, yay, I don't know about this, you know, which happens in a lot of Shakespeare's plays because different times, all those things. But I think it can, I've personally seen it performed in a really interesting way, the play, that at the end it is complex and maybe they're not like, hooray. A bit like Measure for Measure as well. That's another one that can be really interesting at the end. But if you've never seen this play in full, or you haven't seen any of those plays that I'm talking about in full, this particular monologue, so Helena, her monologue starts with, "Then I confess here on my knee before high heaven and you." If you're considering performing this one, and I highly recommend that you do because it is a lesser known one, less people tend to do it, but it's a really powerful one. It's got a lot of heart and a lot of punch, so I definitely think it's worth performing if you're doing an audition, for example, for something, any sort of romantic female lead or dramatic lead. It's less comic because she's not really much of a comic character. She's a little bit serious. Earnest, maybe earnest is a good word. So let's start. Well, I'll start by diving into some of the word meanings. As always, I highly recommend you get yourself an Arden edition. So they're often blue, sometimes green. The old ones are green. They have all the little footnotes so you can check all your meanings. But still, do your research, and hopefully we can have a little bit of discussion about possible understandings of these words and also some ways to tackle the performance so it's really dynamic and interesting, and some of the challenges as well that come with this one, because there are some. Woohoo! Okay, so let's just start with, so it starts with, "Then I confess here on my knee before high heaven and you, that before you and next and to high heaven I love your son." Oh, it's all happening. So she's talking to the Countess. The Countess has asked her before this, so you definitely need a bit of understanding of context for this to start you off. She has asked, she says, "Do you love my son?" And basically Helena is avoiding it because she's like a ward, so she's not really part of this family. She's fallen in love with this boy that she's been with like her whole life basically, but is really above her in class, so she's got no chance. So this lady is like a kind of aunt/mother figure to her, but she's also a countess, and Helena's a little nobody. So she doesn't want to answer the question because she thinks she's going to get in trouble. So the Countess actually asks her a couple of times. She keeps on prompting her, "Do you love him? Do you love me?" And then she's like, "I love him." And Helena's like, "Well, don't you love him? You love him? Well, I love him. Well, of course I do, because he's my kind of brother." Weird. And the Countess is like, "Come on, look, we just know." And so that's why she says, "Then I confess." She's like, okay, well, I may as well just say it. So, and it also, you should notice that "then I confess" is a half line. It actually comes right on the tails of the line before. So it's something, if you're not really familiar with Shakespeare, it's really great for you to know. So what the Countess says before is, "The state of your affection for your passions," come, disclose the state of your affection for your passions have to the full appeached. Basically, like, come on, we know. And when she's just following on, "Then I confess," it follows straight on the heels. So if you ever get a half line like that, it means that it's following really quickly. It's supposed to follow the rhythm, so there's no break. It's following really quickly on what's come before, which means if you're performing this as a monologue, it gives you a lot of drive to jump in. You need to start the monologue with some power, some drive, some intensity, a little bit of pace, because it's designed to jump in on the person before. You won't have that in an audition situation, but you should still have that energy about it. So that wasn't even a word, meaning that's performance already. Sorry about that. I'm jumping all around the place, but it's important and it's exciting. Then I confessed, here on my knee. So literally get down on your knees when they say stuff like this, here on my knee. Don't make it a figurative knees. Just kneel down, because you don't know what's going to happen. She's putting herself in a state of like, not prostrate quite, but like, whatever you give me, whatever you're going to say, okay, I'm ready to take this. She's just a state of surrender, basically. Before high heaven and you, so she's saying with heaven as my witness and you, so both very important people. Now this becomes a little bit of wordplay here, that before you and next unto high heaven, what she means is that even more than you, so before you, she means even more than you and nearly as much as God, next into high heaven, that means nearly as much as God, I love your son, which is really big. So she's like, I know this is wrong, even more than I owe love to you as my caretaker, and as much as I love God, and she does love God, she's quite spiritual, this lady, I love your son. So this is a big deal for her to say that. She probably thinks it's a sin, basically. It is a big deal. Notice there, I love your son. The rest of the line, there's like a big gap. That means there's a gigantic pause. That's like 2 beats worth. And we know that there's like 5, basically musically 5 beats in a bar when we're talking iambic pentameter. I'm not going to go too far into that, but basically if you see a giant pause and there's nothing been edited out, which there hasn't, that means the rest of the line, that means that's a pause, okay? So why? Why is there a pause? Because she's peeing her pants, wondering what the countess is going to say. So she's like, say something, oh my God, I'm gonna die. So that big pause, you milk that and make it clear that you haven't forgotten your lines, that you're actually like, oh my God, what are you gonna say? My friend, so now she starts going, oh, okay, I need to like cover my bases. And she says, my friends were poor but honest. My friends kind of means more like my state, because she doesn't really have a family as such. She sort of says my friends. I think she doesn't really like talking about family. That's kind of how I would take it. But she says, my friends were poor but honest. So she means she comes from nothing, but she comes from good people that are well-intentioned. So is my love. So again, my love is poor. I have nothing to give, but it comes from a good place. Be not offended. So again, she's really peeing her pants here. I would play this personally, imagining, or actually if you've got someone that you can play against, imagining that the countess is facing the other way, giving you nothing. So you're like, oh my God, what are you thinking? Oh. Or that she's actually turned away from you and you're like, oh my God, I've really offended her. I am effed. I'm gonna have to leave my house. I've got nothing. You are freaking out. So again, this is such an exciting monologue because there's so much at stake for her. So be not offended. So she's really pleading here. For it hurts not him that he is loved of me. So it's not going to do him any damage. I follow him not by any token of presumptuous suit. So I'm not assuming anything. I'm not trying anything. It's not going to hurt him that I love him. I'm not even going to go there. Nor would I have him till I do deserve him, yet never know how that desert should be. Okay, so she says, I wouldn't try anything until I deserve him. And then she's like, oh, shit, I shouldn't have said that. Never, because actually, I don't know how I would deserve him. I can't move up a class in the world. I should never even said that. Now I'm going to have annoyed her even more. I know I love in vain. This really kills me every time because there's such long, we can really milk those vowels. I know I love in vain, strive against hope. So hopefully this is self-explanatory. She knows there's no hope. Yet in this captious and intimable, this version here says intimable. I've also seen untenable sieve. So I'll read this whole thing together because it makes more sense with this whole metaphor. Yet in this captious and untenable sieve, I still pour in the waters of my love and lack not to lose still. So even though she knows there's no hope, she's pouring water into a sieve. And even though she's pouring and it's not catching anything, she's still got more to give. And lack not to lose still means like, I'm not even losing anything by pouring this water in because my love just keeps going. It just keeps going. Oh my goodness. That just makes me want to cry. Oh, this poor girl. Oh, sorry, I'm getting carried away. Whew, okay. Now this next bit, if you have to do a monologue, so because obviously I've done this for a few auditions, I've really enjoyed it. If you need to do any cuts, I often do it around this sort of next section because it gets quite convoluted. So if you're asked to do like a 1 minute or 2 minute monologue, you can cut down a little bit here. Thus, Indian-like, religious in mine era, I adore the sun that looks upon his worshipper, but knows of him no more. So basically, because she is quite spiritual, she has a lot of spiritual, like religious references. Doesn't sort of say what religion, so that's why I call her spiritual. Indian-like, so she refers to a lot of other religions. That's why I think it's quite broad. Religious in mine era, so even though she's mistaken, she's religious about it. I take that to mean both kind of maybe dogmatic, but also reverential. I adore the sun. So I'm looking at something that's obviously so far above me, that's so far away from me, that the sun will look upon his worshipper, but doesn't really notice it, but knows of him no more. So doesn't take any notice, basically, and the worshipper has no effect on the sun, if that makes sense. My dearest madam, let not your hate encounter with my love. So please don't respond to this with hate. For loving where you do, so for loving something that you also do. I have no right to love you. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Grovel, grovel. But if yourself, whose aged honor cites a virtuous youth, okay, so she's kind of like laying it on thick here. I think she also believes this stuff. She really loves the Countess. She genuinely loves the Countess because the Countess is awesome. She's actually a really lovely lady. For loving where you do, beg your pardon. Where do we get up? Let not your hate encounter with my love for loving where you do. So sorry, I shouldn't be around here. But if yourself, whose aged honor cites a virtuous youth, of course you're a very clever and virtuous lady. Did ever, so if when you were a virtuous youth, did ever in so true a flame of liking. So if you ever felt like I did when you were a virtuous youth, you'll understand because we're both virtuous. Like you understand what it's like to be a virtuous youth. Wish chastely and love dearly. So this is important. Wish chastely. So she means I'm not going to try anything. This is a pure love and love dearly. So she loves, but it's not a sexual thing. She's saying, of course it is, but she's saying it's not. Wish chastely and love dearly that your Diane, so I'm trying to remember the goddess, she's a chaste goddess, basically, Diane, was both herself and love. So Diane, who is so chaste, could still love someone without ruining her identity of being chaste, because Helena really considers herself a chaste person. Being virtuous is important to her, and I think she thinks it's important to everybody else that she stays virtuous. She doesn't want anyone to think badly of her in that regard. She really wants to know her place. Then give pity. So, and there's an O here. Anytime you have the word O, it really needs to be like, oh, it's just a vowel sound. So don't go, oh, then give pity. Oh, then give pity. Like, so she really gets carried away. This is such an incredible monologue. Oh, then give pity to her whose state is such that cannot choose, but lend and give where she is sure to lose. So she knows this is a losing game. That seeks not to find that her search implies. So that her search implies, we would probably say who her search implies in modern English, what she means. She means she's actually not really trying to find, even though it seems like she's searching for something, she's actually not trying to find it. She's not really trying to get there. Even though it seems like she wants to get to the person, you would assume that she would want to get to who she loves. She's actually really not trying to get to that end goal. Sorry, I just got so carried away, I need to take a breath. That seeks not to find that her search implies, but riddle-like, lives sweetly where she dies. So it's like a riddle because she's dying where she lives. She's living in this love. She's dying in this love. And what sucks even more is that the Countess just doesn't really answer her and says, had you not lately an intent, speak truly, to go to Paris? And Helena's like, does that mean I can go to Paris so I can follow Bertram? Anyway, so we can't go into the whole scene, but basically this whole thing, she's just like, oh, give me something, Countess, and with everything builds every step of the way. So I would play this. Actions can be a good one for this one because you can take such different tacts. So, you know, to beg, to apologize, to whatever, if that's the kind of thing you go into. But basically it should really be a kind of snowball monologue where it's like it gets bigger and bigger because the Countess is giving her nothing and she is freaking out. So anytime you hit a long vowel like oh, and those long ones, strive against hope, they're so strong, really stretch those out. Everything in this monologue is connected to breath. You need to play it big. Challenges wise, this is one of the challenges that because it's a snowball monologue, it can get really carried away like I just did then. If you go by the original Shakespeare technique, which is you never breathe in the middle of a line, you basically never get to breathe for like 6 to 8 lines in a row. It's almost impossible, and I would, if you're a beginner performer, not do it that way because you will find it hard to control your breath and it's probably going to go too fast. You need to check your pace. If you're doing this for an audition, check your pace because you can just fly and it can just go like a speeding train, out of control. So you really need to pace it. You need to keep in control of it. When you're connecting to your breath and really, really opening up, this big stuff that she's accessing, because this is high stakes stuff. She could lose everything. You don't want it to get out of control and be like, crazy stuff. So to keep in control of that, you need to look at your script and mark in where you're going to breathe. You need to really know your breath so it becomes habitual, because otherwise you'll forget to breathe, or you'll breathe too often, or you won't breathe and you'll have to breathe at a weird spot, and then you'll have lost your momentum and your impetus. So mark in your breaths, record yourself to make sure your pace isn't going crazy, or perform in front of someone else that kind of gets it, and ask them to let them know if your pace has gone like a speeding train. They're the main things. This is so beautiful. I really wish you the best of luck if you're performing this for an audition, or even better yet for doing the whole play where you get to play Helena. Such an amazing, interesting character. And she learns so much as the play goes on. So I highly recommend, if you haven't read All's Well or seen All's Well That Ends Well, just read it, watch it, love it. And have a good time. And if you've got any questions, please do comment below and I'll do my best to get back to you. And as always, let me know what other monologues you would like me to dig into. Thanks everyone. Enjoy that one. Bye.